मुखिया चौक में पहुंचाओ। इसका मकसद क्या हुआ मैं आपने कहा, ये देखिए आप दिखाए कैमरा में इधर, जैसे कि मैं बता रहा हूँ स्कूल खुल के घर में सो गया, खाली हाजिरी बनाने आता है इस स्कूल में, दूसरा एक भी बच्चा नहीं है। बच्चे से पूछेंगे क्यों नहीं इस स्कूल में पढ़ने आते आप लोग, अब स्कूल में क्यों ना पढ़ने आते भाई? स्कूल में पढ़ने तो पढ़ाते नहीं है, लेकिन करने भी बहुत तकलीफ होते हैं। और पानी का व्यवस्था क्या होता है? पानी वहाँ बहुत दूर जाना पड़ता है। और इधर दिखाए कैमरा मैन, किधर आ रहा हूँ, देखिए अभी लैट्रिन का व्यवस्था मैं बताता जा रहा हूँ कि इस स्कूल में लैट्रिन का व्यवस्था नहीं है। क्यों नहीं है ये बता रहा हूँ कि इस स्कूल में लैट्रिन का व्यवस्था करना चाहिए। क्या कर रहा है सरकार? ये देखिए क्या क्या है लैट्रिन में। अब देखिए यह है लैट्रिन, कैसा है स्वच्छ भारत अभी चल रहा है अभियान, तो कैसा ये स्कूल है, बच्चे को बाहर भेजते हैं, कैसा स्वच्छ भारत किसा कहते हैं हम लोग। और तो गया हम कैमरा में निकाल तो करे, चापाकल भी अभी तक कोई नहीं हुआ है, चापाकल में अभी कोई नहीं हुआ है। देखिए पानी पीने व्यवस्था कहाँ आते हैं बच्चे लोग, यहाँ देखिए जंगल है स्कूल में, कैसा ये सरकार है, कैसा ध्यान। अब इधर जा रहे हैं, अब बताते जा रहा हूँ, इधर देखिए कैमरा मैन, रूम में क्या भरा है, देखिए ये रूम में क्या है भाई, देखिए ये रूम में क्या है, कुट्टी धरा है। और देखिए कैमरा मैन इधर दिखाइए, देखिए इधर क्या है, रूम है, ये स्कूल का रूम है, सब लगता है। कैसा स्कूल है भाई? अभी देखिए ऐसा स्कूल क्या बच्चे लोग पढ़ने नहीं आता है, तब कैसा पढ़ने नहीं आता है, बोले क्यों नहीं आता है पढ़ने आप लोग? यहाँ पे पढ़ाई नहीं होता है और लैट्रिन भी खराब है, पानी भी का व्यवस्था नहीं है। कैसा सरकार क्या कर रहे हैं आप लोग कि लैट्रिन का व्यवस्था नहीं है? क्यों चापाकल की व्यवस्था नहीं है, पानी का व्यवस्था है। जगह कैमरा में निकाल दिखाई दे रहा कैसा हालत है स्कूल का, क्या क्या स्कूल में है। अब देख रहे मेरा उजागर बेटा, मेरा नाम सरफराज। यहाँ मद्देनजर रखते हुए मेरे बात को, इस स्कूल को जो भी व्यवस्था करवाना है तो करवा ले। और मास्टर को भी ये कहा गया कि स्कूल का भी पैसा आता है, लेकिन स्कूल का रिपेयरिंग क्यों न करवाता, टंकी और चापाकल, एक भी टीचर नहीं स्कूल में। अभी टाइम हो रहा है 12:45 होता होगा, देखिए।
Hi guys, this video today we have seen so far remains us about the pathetic picture of our primary education schools at rural areas. Okay, in the video itself shows the dichotomous situation of our education. There is clear rural and urban divide in our education in almost all aspects like accessibility, affordability, quality. So this video which was trending last day shows the vulnerable situation, how much we talk about the right to education and everything, still there are issues plugging into our education system. Hopefully these reactions will again come in future. Only such reactions can provide much effort into bringing education into a more quality level. On this backdrop, I invite you all for today's editorial discussion and news analysis dated 10 August 2022. So welcome to vlearnias IAS. So let us look into the first news that is important for today's discussion. And the first news is about the Yamuna flood bank having bamboo theme park. The Yamuna flood bank, which is famous for notorious floods, is having a bamboo theme park, which is this becomes very important in mitigating the floods and also having a secondary livelihood options for urban poor. So in this background, let's look into the Yamuna river system and corresponding facts related to the exam. So first bamboo theme park, titled as Baansera, is at the Yamuna floodplain. Please take care of these type of phrases like Baansera. They will ask that this phrase, which was recently seen in news, is related to what. Likewise questions will be asked. Please take care of it. Okay. So let us talk more about Yamuna river system. So Yamuna river system, it originates in the Yamuna glaciers in the Mussoorie range of Himalayas. So the origin of the Yamuna river system is in the Mussoorie range of Himalayas, and it flows through the states of Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana. After draining in these states, it enters Delhi and merges with Ganga at Allahabad or Prayagraj, the largest tributary of the Ganga in the North Plain. So Yamuna becomes the largest tributary of Ganga river system in the North Plain. The main affluent upper reaches is the Tons, which also rises from the Bandarpur glacier. So the Tons, which is the main affluent of the Yamuna river, has also the origin in the Bandarpur glacier. The total length of Yamuna is around 1376 km, and it creates a highly fertile Yamuna Ganga Dove, which is famous for the rice bowl of India. The important cities are Bagpat, Delhi, Noida, Madura, Agra, Firozabad, Allahabad, etc. So this is a small map regarding the Yamuna river system. So look at the main tributaries like Chambal, Sindh, Betua, Ken, etc. So what are the major tributaries of Yamuna river? First one is the Tons, then Giri, then Hindon, then Chambal. These Banas, Kalisit and Parbati are the tributaries of Chambal, which further forms a tributary of Yamuna. Please now take note of this. Sindh, Betua, and the Dasan is the tributary of Betua and Ken. So these are the important tributaries of the Yamuna river. Please revise it multiple times so that it will help to eliminate options in the examination, especially in the prelims examination. So this is a map of the drainage of Yamuna and Ganges. The Yamuna, which flows through the floodplain, joins at Ganges in the Allahabad or Prayagraj. After that, it flows like Ganga has a further flow where it is joined by Gangra, Gandak, Gomti, and finally distributes to the mouth of Ganges, that is Bay of Bengal. So important cities through which Yamuna passes are Delhi, Noida, Madura, Agra, Firozabad, Prayagraj, etc. So the important states in which it flows is that Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Delhi. So how many states in total it flows is that around 5 states. These are important facts. So they may ask that Yamuna flows only through 5 states in India, then it is correct. So this is the origin of Yamuna 3, then it reaches Delhi, then Madura, Agra, then finally merges with Ganga at Allahabad. So on this background, let's look into some of the previous year UPSC questions that are asked relating to these facts. So first question is, which of the following are the east flowing rivers of India and has Rift Valley due to downwarp? So they are asking two related facts, that is, which is the east flowing river and another one is the Rift Valley. So the correct answer is, it is the Damodar. Damodar river is the east flowing river of India which flows through the Rift Valley due to downwarping. The downwarp, what do you mean by downwarp? It denotes a segment of the earth crust that is broadly bent downward. So Damodar is the correct answer. And let's look into the another question. This is a traditional question that is asked in UPSC prelims about river and its tributary correlation. So they are asking a correlation between a river and its tributary. So the rivers given are Godavari, Krishna, Yamuna, and Tapi. So from the discussion we know the important tributary of Yamuna, and yesterday we discussed about Krishna and Godavari. So knowing all this, we can easily reach the answer. The correct answer for this is answer C. So Tapi river system, these are the following tributaries, that is Vagur, Anar, Girna, Purna, Bori river, and Godavari river system Pranahida, Indravadi, Bindusara, Shabari, and Manchra. Krishna river system, it is Dudganga, Koina, Bhima, Mallaprabha, Gatprabha, Varna, Erla, and Musi. The Tons is the largest tributary of Yamuna. So remember this fact, which is the largest tributary of Yamuna? Tons. Tons is the largest tributary of Yamuna. So now let's look into the second news for today's discussion. The news is about the rainfall in Kerala state, which in 2018 experienced a flood-like situation. It is considered as a flood in a century. Such a situation was there in Kerala. Again, a flood-like situation was alarmed everywhere. But hopefully the rain ceased off and situation is coming back to normal. So Kerala once again stares at a flood-like situation similar to one that in 2018 with high intensity of rain triggered by strong monsoon winds. So in 2018 flood was is the worst flood since 1924. Kerala, which is famous for a lot of dams, as a result of flood, a lot of dams were opened at that time. Similar situation was facing there. The huge slit deposition also caused a reduced holding capacity for the dams to hold the water and prevent the flooding. The main reason for this siltation and reduced water holding capacity is mainly due to the encroachment in the dam built area, sand mining, rampant felling of trees and clearing of forests in the Western Ghats area, which mainly prevents the soil erosion and flood at the areas where which is vulnerable to the flood, especially flood plain zone area. So in this background, let's look into much analysis about why urban flood is infrequent in India. The first and foremost reason for the urban flood frequency is that of unplanned development. There is a lot of encroachment in the riparian area, failure for flood control structure, unplanned reservoir operation, poor drainage infrastructure, deforestation, land use change. The another factor is that of unplanned urbanization. We know that a lot of migration is taking from the rural to urban areas, so a lot of demands are there. So this, but the governance system is failed to have a proper urbanization plan. This lead to situation of having an urban growth on the periphery, leading to the settlements in flood-prone areas, mainly in the flood zone areas, which leads to much more vulnerability during heavy rains, especially the encroachment in the waterways and wetlands. So on this aspect, it is important that both the pillars of mitigation and prevention comes to important. On the prevention aspect, it is important to give more importance to forecasting agencies and disaster management authorities, and a comprehensive flood management plan is essential in order to prevent the flood to become more vulnerable. And the following steps can be taken as a way forward. So on this aspect, in order to control the urban flooding, we must look into the haphazard urban growth. There should be affordable housing should be made possible to everyone, so that these settlements in the outskirts of the floodplain can be reduced, and a planned urbanization can withstand disaster. This is clearly visible from the Japanese example, which faces earthquake and tsunamis very often than any other country in the world. And also the planning agency should take a watershed as an important planning unit and consider watershed management and the emergency drainage plan in order to reduce this flood frequently. So in this aspect, let's look into some of the important previous year questions that is asked. One is in 2016 UPSC means major cities of India are becoming vulnerable to flood condition. Discuss. So in this question you can have the following aspect of which are the major areas of flood prone areas of India, urban areas in India, and why such situation is happening. You can look into the social, economical, political and environmental aspect on this, and what are the mitigation methods. Actually the simple question, you have the privilege to have much more creative answer in this. Similar question is also repeated in 2016. A frequency of urban flood due to high intensity rainfall is increasing over the year. Discuss the reason for the urban floods and highlight the mechanism and preparedness of reducing the risks of such events. This mainly combines both environment and disaster management angle in the question. So should combine both the aspect and write an answer. So these type of questions are expected in future also. So now let's look into the next news for today's discussion. This is a small news regarding an opening up of an education theatre for Attappady student. So Attappady is mainly a tribal hamlet in Kerala, where poor people from the tribal areas comes to further studies. So this is a great achievement of opening an education theatre for Attappady students. For that, this can be a game changer for making an inclusive education initiative in India. This can be replicated in most of the scheduled tribe, highly populated regions in other states of our country also. So this is an important news. You can add this as a case study or an example in the answers related to tribal education. And let's look into the next news for today's discussion. Next is around Bangladesh river water deal. A joint river commission meeting to decide an agreement on Kushiara and Ganga. So it is around river water deal between India and Bangladesh. So what is this India-Bangladesh Joint Water Commission? India and Bangladesh Joint Water Commission was constituted in 1972. It was established to ensure the most effective joint efforts of maximizing the common river system. And India and Bangladesh share around 54 rivers between them. And the Joint River Commission is headed by the Water Resource Ministry from the two countries. It also includes a system of transmission of flood forecasting data between the two countries on rivers Ganga, Tista and Brahmaputra. So this Joint River Commission framework, it is part of India-Bangla Treaty of Friendship, which was signed in 1972. After the liberation of Bangladesh, a treaty was signed in 1972, and this Joint River Commission framework came into being after the signing of the treaty. And it was established a view of maintaining a communication system between the two countries. And it is headed by the Water Resource Ministries of the two countries. So this is PM Modi and PM of Bangladesh meeting together. Now let's look into the main critical issue between these two countries and the main issue in their bilateral relation, that is Tista water dispute. So what is about this Tista river? Tista river is a tributary of which river? Which is a tributary of Brahmaputra river, which is known as Yamuna in Bangladesh, and it is flowing in both India and Bangladesh. So it is a trans-boundary river. It rises in the which Himalayas? Eastern Himalayas. It flows through which states in India? In Sikkim and West Bengal. Then it enters into Bangladesh. So Tista river sharing agreement has not been signed up due to the opposition from West Bengal. We know that there is opposition from West Bengal, especially the Mamata government, which opposed signing this. This is mainly because of the right that the government has, since river is a state subject. Only the interstate river valley comes under the concurrent list. Okay, so river is a state subject. So what are the main facts that leads to the dispute? First and foremost is this is the water sharing between the two countries, that India claims around 55% of the share. The second one is about the hydropower electricity that is built around Tista. Both parties have their own facts of sharing of both these aspects. So this video is around a satellite image of Tista river. So a corresponding fact regarding this news, let us look around the Ganga river system. So Ganga is formed from 6 head streams and 5 river confluences. The Alagadnanda river meets the Dhauli Ganga river at Vishnu Prayag, the Nandagini river at Devaprayag, and Pinda river to form Ganga mainstream. So Ganga is a confluence of several rivers which at one point meet at a point and further flows as Ganga. So the Bhagirathi is considered as the source stream of Ganga, which rises at Gangotri glaciers at Gaumur. From there, from where it is known as Ganga, from Devaprayag it is known as Ganga. So Ganga debouches, and that means emerges from a confined space into a wide and open area, from the hill into the plain. That means initially it flows from the hills. From hills it flows and then it splits into wide plain area. and it later joined by Yamuna at Allahabad. Near Rajmahal Hills, it turns to southeast. So flowing from the north, it later turns into southeast direction at Rajmahal Hills. At Farakka, it bifurcates into Bhagirathi Hooghly in West Bengal and Patma and Meghna in Bangladesh. Brahmaputra joins Patma and Meghna in Bangladesh. So some of the important cities in the bank of River Ganga are Haridwar, Kanpur, Allahabad, Varanasi, Patna, Ghazipur, Mirzapur, Buxar, Chunar, etc. It is considered as the holy by Hindus and worshipped as the goddess Ganga in Hinduism because it is the cradle of civilization in India. Okay. So from this map it is clear about in the Ganges river system. So the right bank tributaries are Ganga, Gandak, Koshi, Gomti, etc. And the left bank tributaries, the main tributary is Yamuna. Several other small tributaries also joining river Ganga. So now let's look into a small video regarding the Ganga river system. This Ganga river system originates at the Bhagirathi glacier. Which is further joined by Alakananda. This Alakananda is further joined by Pindari. Again, the Alakananda is joined by Mandagini, and this whole confluence flows downstream in the plain, debouching from a confluent space at Haridwar and the open area as a Ganga river system. So it flows down south and turns to southeast at Rajmahal Hills and joins Bangladesh as Patna. Okay. So it bifurcates it to one in has Hooghly and other is Patna and reaches to Bangladesh and drains to Bay of Bengal. A small video of importance of Ganges. So it is famous for the holy places in India. So whenever we study about river Ganga, and the important phrase that comes is about prayags. There are around 5 prayags which are associated by river Ganga. First is Deva Prayag. It is a confluence of Bhagirathi and Alakananda river. Next one is Rudra Prayag. It is a confluence of Mandagini and Alakananda river. Next is Nanda Prayag, which is a confluence of Nandagini and Alakananda river. Then Karna Prayag, which is a confluence of Pindar and Alakananda river. Then Vishnu Prayag, place a confluence of Dhauli Ganga river and Alakananda river. So next is about Ganga and Brahmaputra delta. Before entering the Bay of Bengal, the Ganga forms a delta by joining as Patma or Meghna in Bangladesh. The coastline of delta is highly indented. That means it is like an indented coastline. So many openings are inside that. The delta is made by a web of distributaries and islands. So there are many sand islands in this delta area and low-lying swamp area. We know the famous Sundarban delta, which is famous for mangroves, lie in this region. So let's look into the Kushiera river, which is recently signed by the Joint River Commission. It is a distributary river in Bangladesh and Assam. It forms an India-Bangladesh border river as a branch of which river? Barak River. It is an important fact regarding this. It is a branch of Barak River. The Kushiera originates in the state of Nagaland and picks up tributary from Manipur, Mizoram and Assam. The Kalni meets the Danu and branches Surma and renamed as Meghna. How the Meghna river originates after flowing through the northeast region. Brahmaputra after flowing through the northeast region. So these are the major river basins in Bangladesh that is located in the map. We know that Jamuna, Teesta, Patma, Meghna. These are important transboundary river that flows through Bangladesh. So let's look into the next news for today's discussion. This is an important news of failure of SSLV, Small Satellite Launch Vehicle, and what the lesson we can learn from this, and what are the future course of action after this. Okay. So what happened to this ISRO's SSLV when mission? Why in ISRO is using this ISRO's SSLV instead of its earlier launch vehicle like Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle and Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle? Why it preferred SSLV to other launch vehicle, especially this PSLV, which is known as the powerhouse of ISRO, which carried many successful missions. On this background, just look into a small video regarding the launch of this
10,
SSLV
9,
satellite.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
So this stage in the satellite launch is known as docking stage, where rocket is ejected to release each part of a satellite, or rocket ejects each part by by a process known as docking while launching into the orbit. Okay, now let's look into what this small satellite launch vehicle is all about. Okay, this SSLV rocket is placed these satellites in an elliptical orbit rather than circular one. Usually, these satellites are launched by PSLV and GSLV in a circular orbit around Sun, while this SSLV rocket launches it in an elliptical orbit around Sun. The issue is that this elliptical orbit is very unstable, and it is mainly distracted by the gravity force of the Earth. As a result, this satellite which is placed in this orbit is pulled to the Earth center. This is the main reason why the current mission, this launch of current satellite failed and came back to the seas in the Indian Ocean. So these are the specifications regarding small satellite launch vehicle. So it is around 500 kg and placed in the low Earth orbit. And while GSLV Mark III, another payload is which can carry around 2500 kg in the geosynchronous trans orbit and 5000 kg to the lower Earth orbit. While Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle can carry around 1750 kg to 600 km in sun synchronous polar orbit. GSLV Mark III can carry around 4 tons in the geosynchronous trans orbit. So these are the major important uh, satellite launch rocket which can carry payloads of different masses. Please take a note on this all these payloads. So let's look into more about SSLV, Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. It is the smallest launch vehicle weighing around 110 tons. It can carry a payload around 500 kg and deploy satellites to around 500 km in the low Earth orbit. So why such a satellite? What are the advantages of having such a launch vehicle? One of the first and foremost is that it has only less time to be assembled. It can assemble within 72 hours, and its cost is pretty less. It is around 1/10 of those currently in use, and it can help India to become a huge market in the launch of space vehicle, because a space launch can be made every week. Especially at the current times of launching micro and nano satellites, this can have to be a game changer on the sats. So more details about this launch vehicle. It is of three-stage solid stage vehicle, because the rocket has 3 stages, and all these 3 stages are solid fuels. So this is a 3-stage solid stage launch vehicle. So it achieved through a liquid propulsion based velocity trimming module. SSLV is capable of launching mini, micro, nano satellite up to 500 kilogram mass. So it take note of these facts. Sometimes in exam they will give like 5,000 kilogram. Please not take note of it. So why the mission failed? It was successful in the initial lift and the flight deviated from its script later. Because it is mainly because the satellite was set into an orbit which is an elliptical orbit where the satellites do not stay for much longer time. And the failure of the mission appears to have been the result of the faulty sensor. So it is mainly due to a faulty sensor in the satellite which failed to detect the failure. So why it is considered as a game changer? First and foremost thing is that it can be assembled within 72 hours, and it is at least 1/10 in the currently used, and it enables phase launch in every week. So on this aspect, it is very important to look at how the business opportunities in the space industry can be maintained. The lucrative business opportunity for agencies like ISRO is a $1 billion industry in the coming future. So well, several new players are entering into this space, especially we have learned about Elon Musk, SpaceX, which is a leading player in the future space businesses. So India also has taken steps by constituting institutions like InSpace for inviting private players to gain the advantages of India's launch vehicles. So India can grab the business on this front. So in this aspect, you can take into look into mains questions. There are smart satellite. How can ISRO's smart satellite launch vehicle, that is SSLV, prove to be a game changer? Discuss. You have already discussed about the details. You should write in a coordinated. So this is a question for prelims. With reference to small satellite launch vehicle, consider the following facts. The SSLV rocket usually places satellites in an elliptical orbit, which is correct, and which is stable due to the Earth's attraction force. This is wrong because it has been unstable. That's why the satellite fall recently. SSLV can enable, so it can enable, so it is a futuristic one, space launch in every week. So it is correct. The correct option for this is option D. So this is the explanation. We have already discussed this one. So now let's look into the next news for today's discussion. So next news is about the issue of withdrawing the data bill, which is considered as a bad move. So what is the context for this? So recently the Ministry of Electronics and IT withdrew the personal data protection bill. So what is this Personal Data Protection Bill 2019? It is a proposal for a data protection framework which was first considered in 2011 by Ministry of Personal and Public Grievance. An expert committee headed by Justice A.P. Shah in 2012 recommended a detailed framework that serves as a conceptual foundation for Privacy Act. So it mainly regards the privacy aspect of various data. With the petition of there are several petitions that occurred that time. An important one is that of constitutionality of Aadhaar and right to privacy judgment given by Supreme Court at that time. As a result, a committee was constituted under the leadership of B.N. Srikrishna in 2017. As a result, a personal data protection bill framework was given to Parliament in 2019. This is the background of what is this personal data protection bill is all about. So what are the issues associated with the withdrawal? First and foremost is that the JPC have, that is Joint Parliamentary Committee, a committee which look into the various bills that have came into Parliament. It never suggested a withdrawal in favor of a comprehensive legal framework, but on the contrary, it pitched for the bill to be passed. But the government feared that a heavy compliance burden will give friction to the innovation and growth in the digital economy, which India is ready to tap as a great business opportunity. And there exists a reasonable argument that if the law is passed, the 2000 bill may institutionalize the bad privacy practices. So in order to seek changes on this, it may be difficult to consider the relentless pace of digitization. So what should be done instead of withdrawing this personal data protection bill? The first and foremost is that building up of a stakeholder confidence and clearing their doubt regarding the provisions in this bill. Only then we can have an integrity in the law that is given to the public. The second is that the government setting the goal of having a $1 trillion digital economy, a regulatory intervention is required to improve the business practices, especially in the area of cybercrime. Which is increasing day by day, this is very much essential. And also growing international consensus regarding this for the next generation innovation technology for data protection. Let's look into next news for today's discussion. Next news is regarding the facts for several cyber criminals that are wandering in our country scot-free. The news is said that every year there are around thousands cases of cyber crimes committed against children. Only 6 of them are resulted for convictions. So poor rate of convictions are there for cyber offences. So it is said that Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh were the two states where most of the cases were reported, according to the latest report by National Crime Records Bureau. So this map shows about the spatial extent of vulnerability of cybercrime. So this also gives us the facts of charge sheet rating of several cybercrime occurring in different formats. The maximum is around this cybercrime is against children, 27%. So now let's look into the next news for today's discussion. Okay, next news is about monkeypox. The news is already for the frequent few days. Already the issue is there. Now the news is saying that it gives more complication to children rather than adults. Okay. So this is a small infographic regarding monkeypox on how it spreads, mainly from rodents, primates through bites, scratches, and consumption of their meats. Then human-to-human transmission is also possible, but in a limited, especially through secretion and skin contact. These are the main symptoms like intense headache, fever, swollen limb modes, chills, backache, rashes, and muscle ache. So what are the facts that we have to know about this monkeypox? So it is an endemic disease in Central and West Africa. It is similar to smallpox but less severe. Okay. What are the main symptoms that we have already discussed, and how how much vulnerable, how much danger it is. The virus spreads mainly through body fluids, that is skin contact and respiratory droplets. Some experts suggest that it could occasionally be airborne. The newborn infants like children and people with deficiencies are immune to this. How does it spread? The virus being spread during sexual contact is very high. What are the cases registered so far? In India, there are around 3 cases, which is all in Kerala. Globally, 16,000 cases, and death which occurred to 5 people, and all there in Africa. So let us look into what is this monkeypox. It is a viral zoonosis disease, that is a virus transmitted to humans from animals, with symptoms similar to that of smallpox, which was eradicated globally, and the symptom is similar to that. So, okay. The outbreaks mainly occurred in the regions like USA, Canada, Europe, Africa, and several other parts. So monkeypox is transmitted to humans through close contact with infected person or animals with material contaminated with virus. Is there any vaccine available? Vaccines for smallpox eradication are currently used for fighting against this monkeypox, but there are no targeted vaccine delivery especially for monkeypox. So let's look into next news for today's discussion. Next news is about a news article by Supreme Court judgment that consensual sex on a genuine promise of marriage is not a rape. So this is a more progressive judgment given by Supreme Court, and we have to look into how it affects the social institutions like marriage, several other evolving institutions like living together, how it affects the society. We can also quote this judgment in questions that are asked about the marriage institution or the changes that are happening in the institution of marriage in our society. So let's look into the next chapter for today's discussion. So Russia launches an Iranian satellite. Russian rocket on Tuesday launched successfully an Iranian satellite into orbit. So this gives the what about the growing relationship between Russia and Iran. That means a new axis is developing in West Asia between Russia and Iran, which becomes a very threat to the American axis of having USA, Israel, Saudi Arabia axis in West Asia. Thus, West Asia is again becoming a hot spot for rivalry in the future. So let's look into next news for today's discussion. Next is around about sports. Our nation has performed well in Commonwealth Games, and also today there is a good news regarding chess Olympiad. We have gained good sports in chess Olympiad, have winning bronze in both men and women category. So this is all for today's discussion. Hope you all enjoyed it. Please subscribe to channel for the future updates. Thank you so much.